Hello and welcome to Safe Schools. I'm Curtis Grace with the Mobile Police Department.
And I'm Andy Howard with Mobile County Public School System.
Andy, we have a great show today. So much so that I'm a little nervous because we have two outstanding, extraordinary ladies here. Ashley Rich with DA's office. She is the DA of Mobile County. And with Virginia Guy with the Drug Education Council.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great show, Curt. These ladies have some very important jobs, and I think they make a huge contribution to the community. And I'm just really excited about the opportunity to share what these ladies have to say with our audience. I think it's going to be a great show.
We'll be right back.
To be inside of the advanced placement program means that you are a student whose primary goal is to go to college. And being in the advanced placement makes that so much more real for those students who are inside of it.
I feel that students shouldn't be scared to go into being an AP scholar because it's not how smart you are and it's not like your GPA, it's how much work you put into your classes and how much you are dedicated to your classes.
It's a fact. Bullying happens. Bullying can lead to serious physical and emotional pain, but there are some things you can do to prevent or stop it. Stand up for the person who's being bullied. Let the bully know that it's not cool to pick on others. Take action by reporting the bully to a teacher or principal. In the end, when you help someone who's being bullied, you're also helping yourself.
Hello and welcome back to Safe Schools with Andy Howard and Curtis Graves. We have, as we indicated to you earlier, some great guests, and I'd like to introduce those guests to you at this time. Immediately to my right is Ms. Ashley Rich, the District Attorney of Mobile County.
Good morning.
Thank you. That's a great opportunity for us to have you on our show, and I think you're going to have some great things to share with our community. I'm happy to have you here.
I'm glad to be home. You know, I'm a product of the Mobile County Public School System, and so anytime I get to be back in the school system, especially here at LaFleur and our Signature Academy, our Legal Signature Academy, that we have a mock trial program going on with the Mobile County District Attorney's Office here. It's great to be back in this courtroom and in the public school system.
We're actually in it right now, for those who can see it, yeah.
So our audience gets to see one of our signature academies, the Legal Academy, which the DA's office has a relationship with us, and we're grateful for your support and for that signature academy. It's a great asset to our school district and for our community. And to your right, Ms. Virginia Guy. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How do you do, Ms. Guy? Ms. Guy is the Director of the Drug Education Council and has a hugely important role in this community in my mind because the Drug Education Council plays such an important part in informing this community and influencing this community away from the misuse and abuse of drugs. And as everybody's been here, and the drugs certainly have made a profound impact on our communities and ability to function and succeed, and Ms. Guy is making a huge impact on making this a better place. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm also a product of the Mobile County Public School System, so it is an honor to be here today with the District Attorney and the Police Department and the school system. We enjoy our partnership with your agency, so thank you.
Okay, I know Ashley attended Davidson High School.
I did.
Murphy Panther.
Murphy, wow, okay, all right. All right.
That used to be a huge rivalry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still is.
Yeah.
It still is. But that rivalry means nothing because today we are working together to make this a better community.
Right.
And we're appreciative that you guys were willing to come and talk to us this morning about some what I think are important things. I'm going to ask both of you a question, and I ask both of you to give us a thought and response to it. One of the questions that just occurs in my mind is about the responsibility of parents to their kids, the kids in this community, about making sure that they do the right thing and obey the law. And what happens when they fail to do so, influencing their kids to do the right thing and obey the law. I know, and I spoke to you all in my thought about, and this is just a frame I thought for how we can have this conversation. Feel the heat, Ashley, and see the light, Virginia. So your thoughts about what do our parents need to do?
Well, let's hope they see the light first. So we're going to let Virginia go first.
Right. It's very, very important for parents to talk to their children and start talking early when they're little. You know, things about the difference in medicine and candy, and what not to take from strangers. And, you know, then the message, you know, escalates into, you know, about tobacco use and alcohol use and marijuana use and that kind of thing. And to make sure that they understand that the family has a clear no-use message. And that they also understand what the family's consequences are. We want the parents to sit down and decide what those consequences are going to be, talk to their children, articulate those consequences, make sure they understand them, and make sure they know that this is an effort to keep our children safe. We've got a lot of information at our office that we can help parents talk to their children about the brain development. One of the main reasons that we want children to delay the onset of alcohol and drug use is because of the undeveloped brain. The brain is not fully developed until you're in your early 20s, and during the very formative years of the brain, while it's wiring itself and the executive functioning is coming into place, if alcohol and drugs is introduced into that brain, it can do significant permanent long-term damage. We know that 90% of addiction begins in the teen years. So if we can delay the onset of use when the student is 14, 15, 16, 17, we can eliminate a majority of addiction later on in life.
It shouldn't just be the school. It should be the parents as well. We should all be on the same page.
Well, and you know, if parents and also friends of children, you know, there's a lot of children in my life that I'm not their parent, that I talk to them about. So, you know, a lot of times children need their parents, but then they also need other responsible adults in their life, really hanging in there with them, making sure that they know the rules, that they're following the rules, that they've got somebody to talk to. We know that when kids are interviewed and studied about why they don't use drugs, if say they get to college and they have not used drugs, the number one reason is their parents or the significant adults in their life. It could be a coach, it could be a Girl Scout or Boy Scout leader, it could be a church youth group leader. So every child in your world, you know, we want to encourage all adults to be talking to their children.
No.
Parents are the front line of defense, but then it also takes all of the adults in a child's life.
Virginia, you're telling us what we want to see out of parents and the hope that we want to see from our children, but actually you see sometimes something different than that. What do you see that is opposite of what we want from our parents and them talking to their kids about drugs and alcohol? And
One of the significant things that I see is there's an awful lot of parents out there that want to be their kid's friend. You can't be a parent and be a friend.
Right.
You have to be a parent, and you have to establish your role as a parent, okay? You can certainly have great conversation with your kids about what Virginia's talking about drugs and alcohol, but you can't be their friend. You have to be the person who instills the rules and helps them with their own morals and values. One of the things that I think that parents need to understand is when we are questioning young people who have committed a crime, 95% of those young people who have committed a crime are already smoking marijuana or ingesting some type of illegal drug at the time that they commit the crime, okay? So that right there is piggybacking on what Virginia is saying, in that if we can keep our young people from beginning to do substances in the first place, then hopefully we can keep them out of a life of crime, okay? It is so very important that our parents sit down at the table and talk to our young people, just like Virginia said. But if they don't, and if their young people choose to engage in adult behavior and adult conduct in committing crimes, then I have an obligation as the district attorney to prosecute everybody that breaks the law. Some people say, well, how can you prosecute a juvenile? You know, they're young and they don't know what they're doing. Well, they absolutely are engaging in adult behavior, and so I have to prosecute them for the behavior that they're engaging in. Sometimes it's at the youth center, but if it's extreme behavior, then we transfer them out of the juvenile system into the adult system. We have to do that. That's my obligation.
Some important stuff to think about. We're going to take a brief break at this time. We're going to come back to that.
As Alabama's first and largest school system, Mobile County Public Schools prides itself
on the high quality of education we provide our students.
We have been successful over the years in raising our graduation rates
and have been recognized nationally for closing achievement gaps. We believe that our primary focus is to educate all students to become productive citizens.
This is our commitment to them and to you.
I started off at Fondy Elementary, then I went to Azalea Middle School, and then Davidson High School for my high school years. The Mobile County Public School System prepared me for my career by showing me why it was so important to give back. I am involved with the Big Brother Big Sister program, and I've been paired with a young boy that was in the 3rd grade and is now finishing up the 4th grade, and it gives me an opportunity to give back and help mentor him.
And we're back. Ashley, you were talking about some really important stuff, and I really want to give you the opportunity to continue your thought, because I think our community really needs to hear what you're talking about there. And what does that mean to parents when they give their kids the wrong advice, wrong directions, and what can happen there?
You know, we're seeing it becoming more common. Parents who think that they can solve their young person's issues on their own as an adult. And parents need to make sure they understand if they have a young person who is having issues or difficulty in school. Let's say they're fighting with another group of individuals. Another group of individuals is picking on them or bullying them or causing issues within their social circles. Sometimes the parents decide, oh, well, we're going to go help you and we're going to fight these people, or we're going to get involved. And that is absolutely the worst thing that could possibly happen, because that's sending a message to the young people that criminal behavior is okay, that not only is the student going to be encouraged to engage in criminal behavior, the parent's going to be engaged in criminal behavior. You're assaulting another person, you're getting into fights as an adult. You can be charged with assault first, assault second degree, depending on the severity. So then we have parents that are now getting involved in criminal activity because they, quote, are trying to help their kids. That's not a way to help their kids. The way to help their kids, if they have a problem in the school system or if they have a problem just with another group of individuals, contact the school, allow the school the opportunity to help in the situation. If the school doesn't help in the situation or can't help in the situation, contact the police. The police are there to help as well. And it's the police's job to settle the situation down, not the parents. And then if they can't get help in that way, then we can see about criminal charges being filed. There's lots of avenues that we can go through without a parent having to engage in criminal behavior to either de-escalate or escalate a situation.
The worst thing you can do is end up in jail or harmed because of the decisions that they make.
That's exactly right.
Given that we're talking about drugs and alcohol and the impact that it has on our community as it relates to crime, you know, we all know that we're not immune to these activities and we're not leading the pack in this either. But from a drug education standpoint, Virginia, what do you see? What are the things that you see that we can do that other cities are not doing with their youth in their communities to change the direction of drugs and alcohol?
You know, alcohol and drug abuse and addiction is really an epidemic nationally. In fact, we've had more overdose deaths in America during 2016 than there were Americans killed during the Vietnam War.
Wow.
So, you know, this is an epidemic. It's impacting all of our families and our workplaces and our communities. And so, you know, it starts early. It starts talking to children very, very early. And parents doing the right thing, as Ashley said, you know, not trying to be the friend to the child. You know, when your child's out, you know, they may tell you on a Wednesday afternoon during a family meeting that they're not going to drink or use drugs, and they really mean it. They may make a very different decision on Friday night at 11 o'clock when they're out with their friends. So we encourage parents to drug test. We've got an anonymous drug testing program at our office at no cost to the family. Also have a breathalyzer in the home, and tell the child, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you don't use alcohol and drugs. And that way, when the child is out with their friends, they can say, you know, like, my parents are nuts. They're drug testing me, they're breathalyzing me, I'll never leave the house again, I'll never have, you know, the car again, I'll never get to go out, you know, or be on my phone or whatever they think they need to survive. That and let the parent be the heavy for the child instead of, as Ashley said, trying to be their friend.
Right. I would say this. I know, being a parent myself, it's a job. You know,
The hardest job there is.
And there's
There
no
is.
manual.
No
manual.
And you have to practice. You practice with no manual, knowing that you're going to make mistakes. And I think that it's important for parents to understand that they're watching the show, that this is not a conversation about what parents aren't doing. It's about what parents can do to improve their relationship with their children and improve their outcome.
Right. It is so difficult being a parent today. I think that is the most difficult job that there is. And, and it's also hurtful to watch your child make a poor decision and then have to face those consequences. So I think sometimes the parents are trying to kind of fix it for the child where they really need to, walk through it with them and do it through the proper channels.
Yeah.
Yeah, parenting through the wallet, okay? We're going to spend our resources as parents, and I'm a parent as well, and we have to make decisions about how our resources are going to be spent. Lawyers, hospital bills, the consequences that have to be undone from those bad decisions.
That's a great thing that you're talking about right now, because what I tell young people is, if you choose to engage in a life of crime and you engage in criminal behavior, you are not only hurting yourself, and you are going to have to face criminal consequences and jail time. You are hurting your family. Your family has to spend, it might be a simple thing like a minor in possession. You choose to go out and drink and you get caught minor in possession of alcohol. It's going to cost your parents thousands of dollars because they're going to have to hire a lawyer, you're going to have to go to court, they're going to have to face the consequences and pay the fines and fees. And at the end, a very bad decision that you made has cost your family thousands and thousands of dollars. And that is very important to talk about as well.
That's important. When you leave, my dad used to say, when you leave the house, I gave you a good name, bring it back.
That's true. That's true. That's very good. And nothing good happens after midnight.
Absolutely. Was that commercial? Do you know where your children are? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there.
Right.
I think both you ladies spent a lot of time and effort and resources to try to promote healthy thought as it relates to crime and drug addiction and the avenues that we should take to avoid those circumstances. How heavy does it become for you both when you don't see the results of the message that you're so passionate about giving?
Well, there are a lot of our young people out there that are making the right decisions and doing the right things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what keeps me going. And I talk to parents every day that are doing the right thing. So they're out there. So I don't want people to think that all kids are drinking and using drugs and all, parents are doing the wrong thing. There's a lot of people out there doing the right thing with their parents. It's tough to grow up in today's world, with, we've got the advantage of technology, but then that can be a disadvantage sometimes growing up. So there's a lot of more threats out there. It's difficult to be a teen in today's world, and and it's difficult to be a parent. But there's a lot of kids doing the right thing, and they're participating in community service projects and doing really cool volunteer work. We've got Red Ribbon Week coming up, and we challenge all of the students in all of the schools throughout our community to lead Red Ribbon Week activities with their peers, and then to go out and do community service projects. We've been doing it for a number of years. I'm always amazed at the wonderful work that these young people do. So, I think there's a lot of kids wanting the world to be a better place and working to make it a better place. They're going to be sitting in our seats one day, and I'm real proud and hopeful about that. So you kind of, that's for me. That kind of is what keeps me going.
Wow.
From my perspective is, I think that what I bring to the table is I help young people learn from other young people's mistakes, because I have the stories of the young people who've made the mistakes and who've taken an unknown controlled substance that they didn't know what it was, and then they died, and I had to have the conversation with their parents. One of the worst days of my career was when I had to speak to a mother about her young person who ingested drugs for the first time, and those drugs killed that young person, and I couldn't prosecute anybody because there was really no crime that occurred. He chose to take those drugs, and it ended his life. And so I like to use examples like that, horrible examples, but examples like that to help young people understand that you can't do those types of, you can't engage in that type of behavior. You can't take unknown unknown controlled substances or any unknown drug that you don't know what's in it. I have to use my experiences that I've seen at the district attorney's office to show them what they don't want to do and the conduct and the activities that they don't want to engage in. That's hard to do because you're talking about some really heavy subjects, but it's very important that they see these examples of real things that have gone on within our own community and that they don't repeat the same mistakes that those people made.
And you know, to add to that, the majority of the drugs on the street today are not what they're being sold as. You know, there's very little marijuana that isn't tainted with something else. There's very little, you know, the majority of the overdose deaths are not a result of what the person thought they were taking, but of some of the synthetics that were added into the drugs. Like a lot of the heroin has the carfentanil and fentanyl in it, and you know, a lot of the marijuana has other things in it. So, you know, the folks dealing drugs on our street today are not very ethical, and they're not selling you, you know, really what you think it is. And you know, we warn people all the time that that is a huge risk that you're taking. It's a little bit like, you know, playing Russian roulette. You know, you never know when what you get is going to have something that's going to just be so powerful that you overdose and die.
All that shines is not gold. We're going to take a brief break, and we're going to come right back.
To be in the AP program, it not only offers you great opportunities in the classroom, but also outside. Like being a member of the AP program, I can come into college already being a sophomore in college, so I can completely skip 1 year just by completing all my AP credits and by taking the classes and passing the exams. I would recommend other students to take AP classes because being a member of the program offers so many benefits and helps you decide what you want to do in the future and where you want to go with your life.
It's a fact. Bullying happens. Bullying can lead to serious physical and emotional pain. But there are some things you can do to prevent or stop it. Stand up for the person who's being bullied. Let the bully know that it's not cool to pick on others. Take action by reporting the bully to a teacher or principal. In the end, when you help someone who's being bullied, you are also helping yourself.
This is a great conversation, and I am so glad that you guys are here to talk about it because this is some important stuff, and it's something our community needs to hear and discuss. I'd like to venture into the conversation, or the element of our conversation that talks a little bit about the digital element of behaviors and influences that are out there, the social media part of it. And how that seems to be impacting behaviors, choices, and influence and circumstances and consequences. I know both of you see that a good bit. Could you talk maybe a little bit on that, Ashley?
I'll tell you just a quick story of a young lady whose parents went out of town, and she posted on Instagram that she was having a party. And she was only, you know, meaning for that message to get out to 4 or 5 other people, and almost 100 people showed up at her house when her parents were out of town. It got completely out of control. They destroyed the house. Cars got stuck in the front yard. There was drugs being consumed, sold, used. There was alcohol everywhere. She ended up calling her parents. They were in New Orleans. They couldn't get home fast enough. The police were called. It was just mayhem, because she made one post on social media. Wow. I think that's a really important thing that our young people need to start thinking about right now, because that's happening, and it's happening a lot when they're trying to get together, and all of these kids that they don't even know, that they're not friends with, are showing up, and it gets out of hand incredibly quickly. And it's really, really harmful behavior, and a lot of criminal things can escalate very, very, very quickly out of that situation. You know, one other thing that I think is important is our parents need to know that you have to, if you give your kid a phone, then with that you have to give them instructions on how they are allowed to use that phone.
Right.
If you don't have that conversation with them, then the kids are going to do whatever they want on that phone, and you can't talk to them about a specific app
You have to
and
have
not
a license to drive a car.
Right. You should have instructions on how to use a phone because they're giving them to them in elementary school, okay,
Right.
in elementary school, without any discussion of how they are to use that phone and the rules that
Social
come.
maturity and
Absolutely.
the consequences of decisions.
As a result of that, I'm going to tell you an alarming statistic. 80% of middle schoolers, by the time they get to high school, have sent a naked or illicit photo of themselves on social media.
Sexting.
Sexting.
And there are consequences attached to those kinds of things.
We just have new laws that are passed. Vivian Figures just passed a new set of laws that are going into effect this year that will prosecute people for disseminating illicit photographs, which I think is a great thing that she did for our state and our community. And there are new laws now that are in place that are going to help us with prosecuting people who intentionally disseminate those illicit photographs to other people.
That's
not that they're intended for.
Right.
So.
Virginia, I know the work you do in this area, and I've seen the importance that you hold to these conversations with young people, because you have a council, actually, don't you? Youth council.
Right.
And some of your youth council kids talk to you about what this means. Could you speak on that as well?
Right. We have a group of young people that are appointed by the mayor and the city council and the county commission in their schools to represent the youth in the community. So we have some very, very candid discussions and have a good handle through those young people about some of the things that are going on, and some of the things that are going on online are very, very harmful. Some of the apps, and there's new apps coming up all the time, and some of them are hidden behind things that look like a calculator app and look like other apps. So parents really need to keep up with that technology themselves, monitor their child's phone, have a time where the phone is off, where the phone is collected and recharged in mom or dad's bedroom and is off for the evening, so that they're not on it constantly, especially during the middle of the night. And then looking at with whom they're communicating, because there's also predators out there that are that are looking at young people posting and will pose as somebody their age. So there's a lot of danger out there on the phones that also bring us a lot of good connection and technology, but there's a lot of danger out there.
Discussions about it is the most important thing.
Yeah, put the phone down, turn the television off, and talk to each other.
Oh, that too.
And have some real conversation about the right stuff to do and what it means for the rest of their lives. This has been a wonderful conversation today, and we're really glad and grateful that you guys were able to come and talk with us and make an impact, and I think in our community, sharing some important thoughts, some important insight, and some important information.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys coming out. I think you all know as well as we do that it takes more than just the school system to make a safe school for us. It takes the entire community, and you guys are doing your part, so thank you.